All right, cool, we're recording. So here's the demo. If you are finishing up your low poly project, obviously mine is a long way from finished, but I can still show you what comes next. So if you have all your triangles ready to go and you've colored them in, if you forgot how to color them in, just as a quick reminder, you use your V or your pointer tool to click on a triangle, and then you switch to I on your keyboard, which mine's not working at all because all my keys are rubbed off and I can't see which one's which. There we go. Okay, so V pointer tool to select a triangle, I for your eyedropper, and then you eyedrop a color in the middle of that triangle somewhere. So I'm gonna just do a couple so that we can demo this area. Also, a lot of people had this question, and most of us are probably past this point. I think I showed everyone who needed it, but just in case, I'm trying to select this triangle here, and it's not letting me. It keeps selecting all the triangles around it. So if that happens to you, what I told people to do was with your regular pointer tool, so shortcut V, your selection tool, drag over 2 triangles. You'll get both of them and hold shift to click the one that you don't want, and you'll be left with the triangle that you do want to color in. Okay, so I'm just going around this one area to fill in enough triangles to show you the next steps. All right, so a couple people also had the issue of their photo being on the same layer as their polygon. So I actually want to show you real quick, like pretend that you're not seeing any of what I'm showing you because I changed mine to be the right way. So, all right, so let's say yours looks like this, you guys. Pretend that this layer is not here. Like actually, if I can make a folder to hide it, I can't hide it. If your polygons and triangles are on the same layer as your photo, you will not be able to make a background efficiently. There's a lot easier way to organize and do this. So if you're looking at your Illustrator file and you only have one layer with your triangles and photo on it, I want you to follow this part real quick before we move any further. You're going to click on the photo so it's selected. Like right now mine's not, but then when I click on it, there's a colorful outline. And I'm going to do Control X. That cuts my photo. Don't worry, it's still there. It's going to be fine, but we're starting to peel it away from the layer that has all your triangles. You want to separate those out. So I cut my photo, and I'm making a brand new layer. And here's the really important thing. You don't want to just paste it anywhere because it's going to paste off of your artboard and not line up with any of your triangles. What you want to do is click Edit and paste in place. It's a longer shortcut, but if it's easier, you can remember Shift Control V. By pasting in place, it matches up exactly with where you made your triangle, so you don't have to like move it by hand to get it to match up again. The problem though is that by default, it's going to make the new layer and paste your photo up on top of your triangles, which isn't what we want. So once you've got your photo separated out onto its own layer, drag that layer below your triangle outlines. And now it's going to be in the exact same spot, but we can hide the photo independently of all your triangles. So once you have your photo separated and on its own layer, you're going to want to lock and hide that layer. We're going to make a new layer at this point. And we're going to call, I should have been doing this all along the way, so bad me, but you want to name your layers so you can tell what's going on. I'm going to call that one background. And I'm going to call my low poly one that has all my triangles just low poly. All right, so on my background layer, I'm going to zoom out so I can see my whole artboard. And you need to create a rectangle to apply a gradient to because otherwise it's not going to know where you want your gradient background. So you're going to click on the rectangle tool. I know it's hard to see on the screen, but the shortcut is M in case that helps. You're going to drag a rectangle to cover your whole background. So that it fits the size of your artboard exactly. This layer with your gradient background should be below your low poly triangles as well. And once I've made my rectangle, I'm going to click on the gradient tool, and the shortcut is G. It's on the left side, just above your eyedropper. So if I click on that, this little panel is going to pop up showing you a little bit about how to work with gradients. And I always get confused because they work slightly differently in Photoshop than Illustrator, but we got this. So you should have your gradient panel pop up. If it doesn't pop up, you can double click your gradient tool and this should pop up, but you want this little panel that gives you all your gradient options. I'm just going to put it in the middle here so you can see it. There's a couple different options here with your gradient. The first thing is the type of gradient you have. So a linear gradient goes from one color to the other in a straight line. Radial gradient goes from the center out to change your color, so it's more of a circular one, and once we apply it, you'll see the difference. Right now, the default is to apply that gradient to my stroke, meaning like I have a gradient outline that I can barely see, and my fill is transparent, which is totally useless. So over on my left side with my toolbar, I see my foreground and background, or like my stroke and fill color boxes. I'm going to click either X on your keyboard. Oh, apparently they changed it to Shift X when they updated. So I'm either going to do Shift X or click this little toggle arrow to apply my gradient to the inside of the rectangle and make my stroke transparent. This is what you want to see over on the left. And again, I know it's hard to see on the board, but your fill square should have the gradient inside of it, and your stroke should be transparent, meaning with that red slash through it. So if you're looking on the board for this part, the difference between the radial gradient is right here. My gradient changes from one color, which is white right now in the center, to black on the edges. But if I have a linear gradient, oh man, now it's applying that to the stroke. Make sure you have the fill selected, because otherwise it's gonna try and apply it again to the stroke. So now if I have a linear gradient, it's going from one color to the other in a straight line. A couple things before we change the color. When you have your gradient selected, or you have your fill with the gradient selected, you can move these color sliders to change how quickly it transitions from one color to the other. So moving these closer or farther changes the space it has to make that transition. You can also move the endpoints of that if you don't want it to transition all the way. There's another way to rotate it, which I don't know why. Let's see. Let's see if, where is it? Quick question for the crowd, since they change this stuff all the time and Photoshop's works differently. How do you rotate your linear gradient, you guys? I mean, I know that there's this angle thing here, but is there a way to just like freehand rotate? No? I feel like there would be, but I know. I did, but the circle changes the color. Maddie, what do you got?
Like this, you can move it like this, move that.
I know, I was trying, but I wasn't having any success with that.
You can do the types. Like
Yeah.
this.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's.
I feel like, I don't know if it's in Photoshop and I'm forgetting, or if this one never had a way, or they updated it, or what.
You can't do this. You can only use this thing like by like dragging how much it is, and then like where it is, but you can't like freehand it.
That seems weird. We gotta send them feedback to be like, yo. Are you sick, by the way?
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm sorry. All right, folks, so it looks like the only way to rotate your linear gradient, if you're interested in not having it just be like perfectly horizontal, there is this little angle rotator where you can choose if you want it like 45, 90 degrees, 120, whatever. But unfortunately, it looks like either they removed the feature or I'm forgetting and it was just Photoshop that has this.
Wait, how do you make it so you can change it?
That you can't just freehand rotate your gradient, but we can keep exploring. All right, so once you have your gradient and your angle set, now you have to choose the colors that you want in your gradient, and you want to make sure that they are colors that work with your portrait. So you can either pick these freehand by double clicking on the little color swatches in your gradient. So when you have your gradient panel up, it shows you the transition from one to the other color. Double click on one of those at a time. This is the super annoying thing though that I had to figure out with a couple people before I realized this is just an annoying default. It makes gradients in grayscale by default, meaning that it's only black and white and, you know, shades of those. To change it to be a color, which you should probably all do unless you're doing black and white purposefully, you're going to want to go up to Window and your color panel, which mine is already up, but for you, Window and Color. And then you should have your color panel look like this. you're going to want to click on the little 3-line menu bar or the hamburger icon, which people call it. And annoyingly, you're going to need to change it to color mode. So right now it's set to grayscale, but if you change it to RGB, then you should be able to actually pick a color for your gradient. So you can either do these freehand or you can create swatches based on your portrait. But again, you change the color once you've changed it to color mode, like RGB mode. You can change the color by double clicking on the swatches that make up your gradient. So it also allows you, when you double click on that swatch, to grab your eyedropper, and then you can eyedrop the colors from your triangles in your low poly portrait, again, to make the colors in the background relate to the ones you've chosen to fill in your portrait with. So as I start to fill in more of my triangles, obviously the face will become more filled in. This has just been done in like 30-second increments, so mine's not totally done. But for you guys working through your low poly, once you've got your triangles fixed up and colored in, this is how you complete the background. Don't forget, by the way, too, you very likely will need to come back at some point and just clean up your triangles if, as you fill them in, you realize that there are spaces in between them. I would fill in all the triangles first and then hide all of your backgrounds, and that will help you to see if there's any spaces between triangles you can clean up at that point. There has been a weird glitch that some people are experiencing, and I'm just going to go over this really quickly in case this is you. I've helped a couple people that have been in this boat, and I honestly don't have a good answer for it, but it seems like some of the outlines are overlapping some triangles, even when they've all been filled in with solid colors. So I'm going to see if I can replicate that error real quick to show you, but this is only for like, very few cases, so it might not apply to you.
That's green. Yeah, what does it look like for you? Let me see your orange. Wait, how do you know what orange looks like? Oh no, what did I call it? No. Wait, how do you know what green looks like? Oh, like grass. Like grass is green. Or like an orange is orange. So you never know what orange.
Hi, how's it going? What's up?
I'm doing speed dating outside of my frozen freshman.
Oh, fun.
We got 30 seconds. So I said, so G and I, so I'm like, we got 50 seconds. Let's go run.
You guys, we have celebrities. Does anybody have either of these two wonderful professionals as one of their teachers? Anybody recognize them? We have celebrities
Guys,
here.
please stop. It's too much. It's too much, guys. It's too much.
Stop by anytime. Miss you guys.
Oh my gosh. Well,
See you next year, Miss
so
Stevens.
nice. Thank you. That's a perfect teacher thing. I love it. Oh, here goes my ringtone. My timer's going off, so I gotta go.
Oh, get out of here. Time's up.
No, okay. Versus like the best one. Dude, Dude, I'm so confused. I want to know what these green looks like.
How many fingers? How many? Can I go to the bathroom?
Yes.
What does that look like?
Just sign out for me.
Like what?
Do you mind putting the pink clipboard on top for me now? Thank you so much.
What? It's like they put in so you mess up red and green. Oh yeah.
All right, folks, so I know our demo took a little bit of a break. If you don't need this, that's fine. But I do want to show you real quick how to clean these up. So folks in this row, I am equally fascinated by Luke's color vision. Landon and Luke and all you guys. Can you just pause real quick so that I can do the demo? It's recording and it's probably hard to hear over. Landon, I literally just asked if you could pause the conversation. Could you pause it? Thank you.
I'm just really interested.
It's just recording right now and it's got all of this on it. So for your own sake, to avoid embarrassing you all, if you could pause, that would be great. It will be embarrassing if I share it with admin and I'm like, whoa, these guys won't stop. All right, so really quick, I just wanted to show you the important part of cleaning up your triangles before you turn in your work. I realized after coloring mine in that there are a lot of spaces between them, so this is an important part of refinement before you submit anything. So once you've colored them, if you notice like me that there's spaces, you're going to want to get your direct selection tool, the shortcut's A, and just come in, click on a triangle, and then decide which anchor point you want to change and click on that one specifically so it's highlighted where the other two should be clear or white inside. And then just adjust those anchor points specifically so that they're all matching up and they're not leaving any room for white space. Make sure that you're not actually moving the whole triangle like that one just did. So click on one anchor point and just move that one. So this is the last step of refining. You can do this either before or after you've made your background. But this is a really important piece for your craftsmanship on your piece, is to make sure that there aren't any like careless empty spaces left, because you want them to all fit tightly together. That's part of the appeal of them looking like they all fit and they match. All right, cool. So demo's done. Showed you guys how to do the gradient background, how to clean up your triangles. I'll be going around and meeting with people that are ready for feedback and handing out our critique and reflection. So finishing up. Save this.